Hello and welcome to the Kerbal Architecture Podcast. I'm Sarah Aguilar, co-founder of Live Energy, and today I'm thrilled to bring you Dr. Anna Cabeca. She's an incredibly accomplished businesswoman, obstetrician, gynecologist, and mother of 4 daughters, as well as adopting me when she's at KetoCon in Austin. And she's a really strong advocate for women's health. So Anna, thank you so much for having the time today. How are you doing?
Oh, I am great. It's great to be here with you, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. And one of the first things that I want to talk to you about is you've got quite a diverse business empire, from your podcast, your incredible Mighty Maca products and Julva, as well as a number of books, best-selling books you've all written, such as The Hormone Fix, which is brilliant. I recommend it. You've really inspired me as a woman in business, and particularly in the health industry. And I'd like to know 2 things. What drives you and who's inspired you on your journey?
Oh, wow. We are both impacting millions of women. I always said I didn't have to impact the millions. I need to impact the one, if I impact the one that impacts millions, that drives me, right? Because who is that one person listening today that needed to hear the message that we're delivering and how important that is? So I'm always speaking to the one versus the millions, and knowing and hearing feedback from people of how my work has transformed their lives of their family, their relationships, and certainly their health, and all that is so important to them. When I hear that, that drives me even more. And of course, as a mom of little women, that is a driving force too. How do I want them to live their life? How do I want them to handle struggles and adversities, as well as how do I model that for them?
So yeah, because you're a role model for your incredible daughters, as well as running the business and juggling your role as an advisor as well in health. But how do you deal with, I think there's, you're doing so many different things. How do you manage that?
The time management. I think it does come down to, when you're doing what you love, you're never working. I think that's it for me. I'm doing what I love, and I'm learning continuously. I'm solving problems continuously, and that drives me. Challenge has been, for me, is taking that downtime and taking that peace time. And that's a challenge, to quiet my mind and to get it back to the present moment, especially when I'm with my daughters, when we're having dinner together. And now with quarantine, we have dinner together every day, and it's amazing. I so love it. And these things that I can just really reflect on, these are bonuses from the quarantine that I will hold dearly for the rest of my life. But how critical, important that is, especially we're all working from home, how it is to turn off and tune in to each other.
Definitely. I mean, there's lots of hidden blessings from the lockdown that we've had. And with the extra time that you do have with your family, because you've written a lot about how food is only one element of encouraging alkalinity in the body, and the other is laughter, joy, connecting with people, because that reduces cortisol. If you are having a good time at home, then you're becoming more alkaline as well, which increases your immunity, if I understand correctly.
Yes. And that empowers oxytocin, the most powerful immune supporting hormone in our body. It makes the difference. Even my daughters are testing, and I'm really checking urine pH and ketones. I have the ketone pH urine test strips. And so you can check on one strip, both pH and ketones. But I had my daughters, early on in the quarantine, they were, just worried. And I said, check your urine pH, and they were all acidic. And
oh my God, yeah.
So it was like, okay, we're eating keto green, we're doing these things. We got to shift our mindset. And then we had a karaoke night, and that was just fabulous, fun and alkalinizing.
And did you measure yourself the next day, all of you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So alkaline. Yeah. So
wow.
alkaline.
So karaoke is the way to defeat stress and lockdown. I love it. That's such a great idea. And then one of the things that you talk about particularly in your book, and I think if I just open at the beginning here, you say that you need to be your own personal health detective. Can you explain what exactly you mean by that and how we can do that?
First of all, we have to take our power back over our health. right? We have to take our power back over our health. And as you said, like, we cannot rely on our government to take care of us. We cannot rely on our insurance company, our public health system to take care of us. Our responsibility, it's our responsibility for ourselves and for our family. What we do take on and what we don't, right? Whether, that's the chemicals, the GMOs, the toxins, the vaccines, whatever it may be, we have that choice, and we need to keep it a choice. As well as, like, how do we understand what's working for us and what's working against us? And I believe in test, don't guess. What gets measured gets managed. We need to discern for ourselves what's working for us and what's not. So part of that is key lab test. And in the Hormone Fix, as well as my new book coming out, Keto Green 16, I talk about key tests that you must know regarding your health and key blood tests. But then on a personal level, like looking, as we're talking about, checking urine pH, that is a vital sign. When we are allowing cortisol to overrun us and we're not sleeping well, we're getting dehydrated, we're eating too much acidic foods, which is common in the keto community, we have to balance that. We have to balance with alkalinizers, with minerals, with, oxytocin activities, right? And stress reduction activities. And we need to understand, if we don't know what's affecting us, if we're not aware of that, awareness is key. Awareness allows us to flourish in our health. And I love the saying, an old proverb that says, when you have your health, you have 1,000 wishes. But when you don't have your health, you have only one wish, right?
That is
To
to
have.
be healthy. Yeah, that's so true. But where would someone start then? So if you are going to be your own health detective, and perhaps if you don't have access to a lot of blood tests and things like that, where would you start? Because sometimes you don't know what's affecting you if you have 20 different things that are having a negative impact on you.
And that's so true. And I think in my book, The Hormone Fix, I put all these questionnaires, right? There's easy, take these questionnaires that helps you figure out, okay, well, where am I right now? Now, when I do these behaviors, when I get Keto Green, follow the program, my 16-day program coming out in 16 days, repeat the testing. How do I feel now? What are our vital signs? Our resting pulse, right? We can all check that. We can check our urine pH. It is a vital sign. You can get pH paper at any pharmacy. Easy to get, definitely can order it online and check on that. And how do you feel when you're fasting? How do you feel when you eat a certain food? It's that checking in with yourself that helps you. What does the scale do when you eat a certain food or you practice a certain way? So that starts being your own detective. And then also in just the concept of discerning, we know when we eat something, we're going to have a reaction, and we do it anyway. It's understanding why, what risks we're taking, or what consequences we're willing to live with and not live with. But really understanding, especially now, as with discernment, is this decision going to take me into, closer to optimal health or farther away? And so even just checking in with yourself in that way, that's one thing. But then also detecting, okay, how do I feel when I eat this way? What's the next right step to give me higher mental clarity, better energy, feeling like I'm fueled, I'm running?
Yeah, because so would you recommend then that people start? I guess you've got to cut out and eliminate before you can kind of discern what is affecting you in a negative way. But I know a lot of people think like keto is the healthy way, but there's a lot of people who do dirty keto, and you very much promote a clean, plant-based, green keto. And why is it important to be alkaline instead of acidic?
Yeah, so that's great. So when you think of acidity, and this is our body pH, now blood pH is really well maintained, slightly alkaline, very well maintained. And in order for our blood pH to maintain that, we will rob Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, in order to maintain that pH. In other words, we'll take minerals out of bone, muscle, etc., to maintain that alkalinity. So when we're acidic, more acidic, and I always use urine pH as a measure, right? So when we're more acidic, you think of a city like New York City or London, right? There's smog, there's industry, not so much green space. Versus alkalinity, which is like the Amazon jungle, your beautiful areas that are tons of forest and green space and waterfalls. And that just feels better, right? That's alkalinity. Now we need both, right? There's always the pull and tug, the give and take. So we need that. But optimally, alkalinity is urine, and higher alkaline urine pH, without a doubt, is scientifically associated with improve stronger bones, decreased risk of diabetes, hypertension, so high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, and cancer. Just in general, getting a slightly alkaline, just checking your urine pH on a regular basis is going to have that benefit on your life. So alkalinity is certainly the way to go. And also because what we know is that when we're stressed, cortisol increases hydrogen ion secretion across the renal tubules. So what that means is it just increases the acidity of your urine pH. Cortisol is a catabolic. It breaks us down, right? It is not anabolic like our sex steroids or sex hormones. It is catabolic. It breaks us down. So just as a common sense would say, okay, we can't sustain life in this breaking down state very long. And that's why we see young women in their 30s with osteopenia, loss of bone, right? And so we need at a young age, why I'm telling my young daughters, it's important to check your urine pH and get alkaline, because mentally and physically and nutritionally, all of these things come into play for our quality health. It's never just one thing.
I didn't realize that it affected bone density as well. My God. So I think you could also say that being more alkaline is also linked to sort of not anti-aging, but preventing aging as such. So you're kind of more youthful for longer and functioning better for longer, and fortifying your immunity so that you're more resistant to pathogens and viruses and things like that.
Well, and what we know too from the research right now is there was a recent study published. Well, actually, that's not too recent ago, just looking at avian coronavirus and infectious bronchitis, that it's associated with low pH, so more acidic, pH dependent activation. So what that means is that the more acidic you are, the lower your pH, the more acidic you are, especially around the bronchioli, that increased exponentially virus replication. So what does that tell us? Really focus on getting alkaline. And, if it's like for us, it's Mighty Maca greens in the morning, some apple cider vinegar. I'm drinking it hot right now as a hot tea. And that combination of alkalinizers to really help get alkaline as much as possible. If you're acidic, even a little bit of baking soda, apple cider vinegar, adding lemon to your water, things like that can help with alkalinization, help decrease that acidity, among other things, to improve our immunity. But we're definitely seeing a direct improvement of the most alkaline, the most alkalinizing herbs and products that we have are showing supportive in prevention and decreasing the severity of flu, influenza, and even coronavirus, according to this research.
And what sort of foods are more alkaline than acidic then? And in particular, what's in your Mighty Maca that's hyper alkaline? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, definitely vegetables and fruits are all alkalinizing for the most part on your body. Now, with that said, fruits are high in sugar, so we're going to decrease that. So in Keto Green 16, I do allow a couple fruits that are supportive of digestion. So I do the very alkalinizing papaya, mango, and pineapple, a little bit with your evening meal, a little bit carbs in the evening can be really helpful. But in Keto Green 16, I focus on 16 key food types. So even things like for digestive support, that's going to support our microbiome, like kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented foods, that's one key type, right? And then your cruciferous vegetables and your dark green leafies. Those are two other of the key ingredients, that food types that I want people to be eating in the 16-day plan for that really important alkalinizing benefit, plus hormonal detoxification. In Mighty Maca Plus, the single sticks, and you guys carry it, but Mighty Maca Plus has maca, which grows in the high altitudes of Peru, and I use organic Peruvian maca, and it is one of the most alkalinizing herbs on the planet, and it's very high in arginine, improves nitric oxide, increases blood flow, which is exactly how Viagra works. So hence maca has been known as the Peruvian Viagra, really good for men and women. And also in recent studies that I've been researching, because I was thinking, if coronavirus acts like, its effect on our human oxygenation is like altitude sickness. They've been saying chronic mountain sickness or altitude sickness, and maca grows up in the high altitudes. I started looking to see if there was research, and sure enough, research to show that maca helps with chronic mountain sickness, that people who take maca had a significantly reduced incidence of altitude sickness. I thought that was really fascinating. And of course, I'm digging into exactly why, but then it also has antiviral properties and huge adaptogen. It's an adaptogen like no other. It helps when your adrenals are in overdrive and underdrive. And that is why it is my number one prescription right now for health. And then it also contains quercetin, which we know is very important for oxygenation, mitochondrial function, so our powerhouse of our cells, and contains turmeric, resveratrol, green tea extract, cat's claw herb, all potent ingredients, all potent antioxidants that work on the cytokine storm,
And they're
essentially.
all immune boosters as well, aren't they? But with maca, it's so interesting that plants often grow with the properties and qualities that you need if you live in that environment. So it's looking around you and like what's naturally occurring, and that's often the most nutritiously dense thing that you can have, because you discovered it in Peru, right? Years ago. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. That inspired you.
And the combination just came from my own healing journey and reversing my early infertility and early menopause when I was 39. So now it's been clinically used and recommended by physicians around the world. And we're in over 30 countries. And, it helped. Reason I've created it because I needed it for me. And it helped me, the combination of ingredients that I learned from around the world. And I just think I always say it's a divine formula. It really is. Like, it's my healing journey in a can. And I love hearing the success stories from it. So
Yeah, it's always when you're solving your own problem, you end up solving a problem for many others, and that's the kind of the magic in it. So it makes it so mighty. So the next bit that, well, actually, no, let me think. There are more keto questions that I wanted to ask you first.
oh, yeah. And just with keto in general is so important for insulin sensitivity. And again, that's where eliminating the sugar, eliminating the carbs, eliminating the sugar, doing intermittent fasting. So with Keto Green 16, it's 16-hour intermittent fasting. And it's not just important, but especially right now for our at-risk populations, those of us, me included, over 50, I mean, intermittent fasting is absolutely necessary. Getting into ketosis on a regular basis is absolutely necessary. And we cannot risk any longer.
No, yeah, because of the epidemic all around the world with blood sugar issues, insulin sensitivity, and diabetes type 2, because a lot of people wonder if the ketogenic diet is safe for someone who's got type 2 diabetes.
It's necessary.
Because it's,
Not keto dirty, keto green. Right? Let's talk about
it
keto
should
clean.
always be, I mean, the thing is, people should always eat clean, whether it's high carb or low carb, it should be real
So
food.
true.
For sure, but with type 1 diabetics, they're not always recommended keto, or it's got to be more carefully managed. Is that right?
Type 1 diabetics have to be more carefully managed, but they can absolutely do it. But you have to be so careful as a type 1 diabetic, because especially you're on insulin pumps and managing your insulin, you really you do improve your glycemic control. And what happens is that you can get hypoglycemic quicker. So you really need to be on top of managing your blood sugar. I wear a continuous glucose monitor. So I use this to manage all my recipes in Keto Green 16 so that there's no big bumps, surges, or peaks or valleys. And so you're not getting highs and lows. You're not going to create that hypoglycemic. What happens sometimes with our type 1, so you can just with your smartphone measure your blood sugar. I just had breakfast, a good keto green breakfast an hour ago, and my blood sugar is good, right? It's 99. So about a half hour ago. What time is it? Yeah. So just right before I was eating, before I got on our call. So I broke fast approximately 15, 16 hours after my last meal. So, and I think that's really important to be able to look at, what's raising your blood sugar and what's not.
And looking at your personal responses to certain foods. And have you had any surprises?
I
So you
did.
weren't expecting to spike your sugar levels, and it did.
Well, definitely. One, when in speaking, public speaking, that spiked my blood sugar. I went up to like 150, when my baseline's 80s, And so that was surprising. The second surprise was when in the morning when I get up and I drink coffee, like, even if it's have that urge, I love my Nespresso machine, right? But if I have that coffee in the morning, my blood sugar goes up 20 to 30 points. And that's just with black coffee. That was surprising. And that also elucidated to me when I stop coffee for a week for whatever reason, I lose typically 3 or 4 pounds during that week. And so it's so frustrating because I love
Really?
my coffee, but that for me, and I'm a rapid caffeine metabolizer based on genetics, but
Mhm.
it increases caffeine, increases cortisol, increases glucose. So so for me, it definitely raises my blood sugar. But when I start in the mornings and I'm doing my gratitude journaling and I'm drinking my mighty maca, my blood sugar, you can just see it's just flatlined all day. It's pretty stable.
That's so interesting because so many people say that if you drink caffeine, it boosts the metabolism and therefore you burn more calories. But actually, if it's messing with your blood sugar levels via the cortisol, it can then the weight gain, is that because you get hungrier, you feel hungrier after you have the caffeine and you just end up eating more because of it?
That could be, or it's creating some insulin resistance, right? I mean, it could be certainly that issue, or it's a food sensitivity, and that
Mhm.
also creates a problem. So that's that part of doing your own detective work. Okay, what's my risk and benefits? Yes, I still drink coffee, but it's not my first go-to in the morning. In the morning, I'm drinking tea and drinking my mighty maca, my alkalinizers in the morning, and I just save my little espresso cup for later in the day. And then again, times when I completely give it up, especially when I'm doing keto green fasting or extended fasting. That awareness is so key. It makes me, certainly more aware of the amount of coffee I drink.
And it shows that when you mentioned the speaking in public as well, it shows that it's not just food that has an impact on our blood sugar levels at all. There's all the other factors, because I think you say 30% of what we eat contributes to
Our
our
health.
basic overall health. Yeah, so it's all the other aspects like doing karaoke and having fun with people that's so important. But thank you for going through so much on ketogenic diet, particularly healthy green alkaline keto, and how to become your own health detective. But I'd like to talk a little bit about lockdown because everybody's been going through this almost all over the world. And from your perspective as a mother and a doctor, how are you handling these confined times?
I can honestly tell you that I am very minimally affected. All my girls are back under my roof, which is exciting. 5 women, well, actually 7 females, 5 women, and 2 female dogs. So we are fully estrogenized in this area. And having my daughters back is peace of mind for me because I was worried about your friend, my daughter Amira, while she was studying in Holland in Nijmegen during this. And that was fear. I was definitely triggered during that time period. I think it triggered a lot of fear and uncertainty. Am I going to be able, should I let her stay? Should I go get her? What's the situation? Bring her back? And I just had this fear, like under the surface, I've lost one child. Oh my God, I can't risk losing another. And all of this, I had flashbacks and trauma. And so I get it. And I recognize very quickly, okay, the keto green way pulls me out because check my urine pH. Don't let cortisol rule the nest, right? Like get oxytocin on board. Understand first and foremost, what is in your control? What do you know to be true right now? We are all safe. We are all healthy and we love each other. We're together. And that framework, reframing, shifted, right? And shifted me to be able to, number one, get her back. We stayed in quarantine and acted based on knowledge, faith, and love. And that kept me from spiraling. But I did have flashbacks. I did have that drop in willpower, near slip back into behaviors that don't serve us, right? Eating too much, drinking too much, not moving enough and things like that. That was a trigger. So for about a week there, I was facing this until I was able to gain control of all the things, gain control of my thoughts, compartmentalize the fears, and act on what I know to be true. And that honestly, that transformed for me, my life. And as I give back on my daily lives in my Keto Green community group, and as I give back to those that I can help and serve, because I've been there, I know what anxiety can do. I know what depression can do. I know what grief and loss can do to our physiology. So every little step that we can take together and individually to shift our physiology to one of gratitude and love, I mean, that's where the healing power comes from. And for me, that's all embedded in the Keto Green way, nourishing our body, nourishing with the food we eat, the activities we do, the sleep we have, and the thoughts we make. So all of these things come together in this Keto Green way, right? And that's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, that's a beautiful philosophy to have. And it's definitely kind of moving from anything fear-based into a higher level of love or looking after yourself holistically, totally holistically. I think that's really great advice for a lot of the listeners to hear. And the last thing that I want to ask you is our curveball question. So, Anna, what's the biggest curveball or setback that you've experienced that's had the hugest impact on your life and where you are today?
I think there's certainly been many. The one I'll share with you today is when we had a hurricane back here in 2016, I was near broke. I had retired my medical practice. I was single mom to my kids. Two of them were teenagers at the time. Let me just tell you, that was a transition, right? I was 48, they were teenagers. I was facing, a complete depletion of my savings, and it was a frightening time. And all I knew at that point, and as I, again, practice these principles that I teach, that's where I was discovering like what's getting me out of this depth, and hence my Keto Green way. But the biggest pivot was facing that and just knowing that I just need to make the next right step. How do I serve? What do I need to succeed? And just take the next right step to get there. And with that, creating, like, just sharing my story, sharing my solutions, sharing my journey, that for me, that pivoted to now where, running a very successful international business, and I'm still single mom to 4 kids, right? And I think, recognizing that it's, I'm relying on me and the tools that I have, and we have, each of us, unlimited capacity and capabilities and giftings, and stepping into that. And if not for the clarity that I get from this way of life, I wouldn't be at this point.
You're such an incredible inspiration. Like, it really is amazing. No, they need to think that you were there then. We're only, 4 years since then, and you've got international best-selling books, some incredible supplements, all of your workshops, and that you do kind of keynote speeches as well on stages with thousands of people, and you totally own it. Like, I love watching you on stage, and yet you kind of break down really complex science into easy to understand ways, which very few doctors ever really do. Like, you're amazing. Like, thank you so much for your time today. But I want to make sure everyone can find out more about you. And the book launch is very soon, isn't it? It's in a couple of days.
Yeah, May 5th. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll probably be launching this live just after it's been published. But if people want to find out more about you and your Keto Green way, how can they do that?
So it's easily on my website at dranna.com. So like Dranna, DRANNA.com.
Great. And do you have an Instagram account?
Yes, Instagram at Dr. Anna Cabeca. It's so fun. That's where we post like the fun stuff in the stories, the karaoke pictures, the food for the day, thought for the day, all of that good stuff. So at Dr. Anna Cabeca on Instagram, and at Dr. Anna C on Facebook.
Great. We'll link all of that in the show notes, as well as to the jeweler, the Mighty Mecca that we have in the store as well, and your books too. But thank you so much again. Sending you a big hug to you and all the girls over there.
Thank you, Sarah.